Hey, David Raffoff here. Hope you're having a good day. I thought I'd do something a little bit different this time. I typically do videos on programming and kind of computer-related stuff, but if you've watched the channel for a long time, you'll know I'm also into gaming. You probably noticed from back here in the background occasionally. And I was really into old 2D console gaming, particularly like the Super Nintendo and then the Saturn and the Dreamcast. Specifically, the 2D parts of the Dreamcast and the Saturn. And so anyway, recently I've been thinking about doing this for a long time and finally just kind of pulled the trigger on it. But I have this old Sega Saturn here. It's actually in pretty decent shape. And one of the things I wanted to be able to do with it was, just hook it up to a TV and play it. And particularly, there's a lot of stuff that came out in Japan that didn't come out in the US. I'll get into kind of the history on that here in a second if you're interested. But essentially, there wasn't a great way to play the games that came out in Japan, and they were hard to import at the time. And the thing was, that was really cool about this Saturn and later the Dreamcast was they were getting a lot of the games that were coming out in the arcades that were typically better. They were ahead of the curve, where the consoles were. They were just, the experiences in the arcade were just still better than what you could get at home. And there were a lot of really cool fighting games that have kind of aren't on everybody's radar. If you're in the fighting community, they're well known, but they're just not as big. A lot of shooters, just a whole bunch of stuff that we couldn't get here that, if you were really into gaming, you might have known about at the time, and it was really exciting. But you never knew anybody that had it or had any idea how to get it. This was before the internet was really usable in that way, or right at the beginning of it. So anyway, there's a thing you can order for the Saturn, which I just picked up recently, called the Action Replay. And one of the things that made the Saturn capable of playing these kind of more advanced games was it's got this thing back here, which is not the game slot. This is where you put the games. It's just your normal optical drive. But this is an expansion slot for RAM. And the Action Replay cart gives you that expansion. It's 4 megs, which I believe is the max expansion. I could be wrong about that. But in addition to that, this one makes it possible to kind of override the region locking on the system. So you can basically pop this thing in, and you can pop in a game that came out of Japan, and then you should be able to play it just fine. And that having the memory and the ability to do that is going to let you play a lot of games that you wouldn't normally be able to play. Obviously because they're from Japan, but also because some of them need that extra memory to work. I think a lot of the fighting games with really good animation, for example, I think, what is it, X-Men versus, is it Capcom? I can't remember. But anyway, there's a bunch of them. So anyway, I'm really happy I got that to be able to play these. The other thing I had going on was my controllers were, the only ones I had left that worked were these generic controllers, which are probably fine, it'll probably work. I don't know if you can hear that. It's probably got some loose parts in it from getting knocked around over the years. So I also wanted to get some nice controllers, and originally I was thinking I would buy the standard Saturn controller with cords, but when I went into my local retro shop, they were selling these, which I wasn't familiar with. I don't know when these were produced, but they are officially licensed controllers by Sega. They look exactly like the original Saturn controller, and they're Bluetooth. They have a Bluetooth receiver, so apparently these are compatible too with Steam, PS3, Android, PCs. So anyway, it's $35. If you've played those old game systems, you'll know the cords are pretty darn short. So it is kind of cool to have these wireless controllers, and I actually picked up 2 because I do want to be able to play fighting games or just maybe beat 'em ups too with people side by side. So I was pretty excited to get those. you know, with any of this stuff too, because it is old, I would recommend that you try it out first if you're buying it like from somebody, if you can. If you're buying it online, it's kind of a crapshoot. I have a really great local retro game shop, so I don't even bother trying a lot of this stuff because I've just purchased so many things from them and nothing has not worked, and they have, within reason, some of the stuff's got a warranty on it. You can bring it back. But just to give you a couple other ideas about why I wanted to do this, if you look up some of these games that came out for the Saturn, the better games, a lot of them are games that were made in Japan and translated much later or quite a bit later by somebody in the US and then released. And it's just kind of ridiculous too. Like these are the Saturn games are like VHS tape boxes essentially. But this game, they didn't produce a lot of these games in the US. Like the Saturn didn't do that well here. So this family of games are all the games that were done by this company here called Working Designs. This may not have been one of theirs. They're really expensive. Like I think this is like $300 or $400 online, and that's if you can find a really good copy. Like this one's my copy from when I was a kid, and it's in really good shape. But yeah, they're just insanely expensive because they just didn't make that many of them in the U.S. And then kind of in contrast to that, like I bought this at Portland Retro Game Expo. It's complete in box. It's got the manual. It's got the inserts. The disc is good. Like the whole case is good. The art's good. I think this was like in the zone of maybe like $30 to $50 or something. Like it really wasn't very expensive. And that's kind of the story with the Saturn games. Like they just made so few of them in the U.S. that they're insanely expensive. If you're going to buy them, you really have to want to have them. And so yeah, I'm interested in collecting some of these things, and I'll probably buy the ones from Japan just because they're so much more reasonable. For an RPG, that's a little bit harder because there's just way more text, but there's ways around that. But for a lot of games, like here's I was mentioning fighting games that people aren't as familiar with. Like here's Vampire Hunter. This is like a Darkstalkers game that came out. Yeah, a lot of people here aren't as familiar with Darkstalkers, but Capcom, had other lines of fighting games. And again, this is like a really good condition game. Like it's got all the materials for it. The disc is in great shape. It's got the manual looks great. I really like the artwork too from this era, like all the Capcom stuff that came out around that time. I was really into illustration as a kid, like old illustration too, but really had fun just drawing a lot of the Capcom stuff as a kid when I was in school and wasting time or just at home or whatever. So it's just very nostalgic to me to be able to own some of these things that were just not really feasible to get when I was younger. So yeah, I'm looking forward to picking up some more of these games, the more Japanese versions of these games that I haven't played before, and just kind of seeing how well this setup works. For this one, I haven't hooked all this stuff up together yet to try it out, but I don't know any reason why it wouldn't work. But yeah, I'd be interested in hearing, if you've got a system that you're nostalgic about, or like a game, or just something about growing up playing games that you're kind of reconnecting with at this point, maybe because you've got kids now or whatever it is. Let me know about that in the comments. I hope too, just during kind of these stressful times with lockdowns going on and coronavirus and political turmoil and all that stuff, that you're doing something to just kind of maintain your mental health. But yeah, love to hear about any of that down in the comments. If you got any questions about any of this, let me know. Be happy to answer any questions about any of this setup. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.